No one could have predicted that a normal production day would turn into a scenario so crazy that the whole cast would be left speechless. That's exactly what occurred when Ty dropped a bombshell that no one, not even the producers, had expected in her usually calm, butt-cutting tone. Ty has said that Evelyn, the queen of confidence and scandal, is secretly engaged, according to speculations that are circulating on all social media platforms. One of them produces it. When Ty spoke those words, the room reportedly froze. The cameras kept recording even though the crew seemed stunned. They aren't sure whether they should stop filming, and the repercussions are unimaginable. The preconceptions of every member of the cast were challenged. Friendships were jeopardized as the fan base exploded with theories that only helped to feed the flames. Is it accurate? Has Evelyn been hiding a life-altering secret from everyone, playing a game no one else even realized they were playing? Or is this just another clever ploy to get gold ratings and ruin reputations? The relationship has undoubtedly changed forever as a result of this revelation, and the drama is only getting started. Everything started with a piece intended to be amusing. The gang had gathered in the lounge area, sipping lattes, discussing previous episodes, and joking about who had the most bizarre moments on the show. The atmosphere was lighthearted, even nice, until Ty leaned back in her chair, gave off that sly smile for which she is famous, and uttered something that made the room tremble. "Funny thing," she said, tilting her head toward Evelyn. The silence that followed was deafening. The buzz of the cameras, the awkward cough of one crew member, and Chantel's sharp gasp for air, she almost dropped her phone, were all audible. Some of us don't have to worry about being chaotic because they're busy planning secret engagements with the people signing our checks. Evelyn stopped for a moment, her usually piercing confidence faltering just enough for everyone to perceive. She swept her hand in an effort to reject it, but the damage was already done. She pretended to laugh. The mood was so heated that even Brandy mumbled to herself, "What the hell is she talking about?" Ty continued after that. "You heard me." She leaned closer and stated, "You heard me," in a tone that was calm but pointed. "The agreement has been finalized for months, honey, even if the ring isn't on her finger yet." The camera zoomed in on Evelyn's face, capturing every flash of anger, shock, and disbelief. What makes reality TV so useful is events like this, and they all knew that they were in the middle of a storm that would soon sweep over them. On the shoot that day, Doug tried to defuse the situation. He prodded, "Come on, Ty," with a fake chuckle. "Don't start with the conspiracy theories. Do you know how people twist words around here?" Ty said with a menacing smile before pulling out her phone and holding it up like a prize. "Baby, twist. There isn't a twist. These are receipts. In the aftermath, there was total chaos." Chantel gave a startled start. Emma grabbed for her coffee as if she needed it to process what she was hearing. Even Jackie, who usually jumps to Evelyn's defense, sat back in quiet, her eyes darting back and forth between Evelyn and Ty as if she were doing some kind of mental math. Finally losing her fury, Evelyn banged her fist on the table. "You need to stop," she said in a tremulous, low voice. "But the problem was that you have no idea what you're talking about." By now, everyone in the room believed Ty knew. The staff rushed to document every reaction and every point of view. Someone mentioned late-night communications as stories started to spread. Another person claimed to have seen Evelyn at a corner booth at an after-party with the same producer Ty was mentioning. Evelyn was now reanalyzing in real time every one of her private exchanges, late calls, and mysterious looks with that producer. Nothing is ever kept to herself by Brandy. It was finally said what everyone else was thinking. "Do you mean that Evelyn has been seeing him this whole time?" In other words, actually seeing him. Regards. She leaned back in her chair, relishing the moment. "Watching him?" She chuckled and said it again. "Try planning a wedding with him, indeed. Keep pretending you don't know anything." Evelyn's face flushed, and for a moment it looked like she might walk out the door. She straightened her posture and put on her icy smile. "You can say whatever you want, Ty. I don't have to explain my life to you or anyone else," she continued. "Else." Although she used harsh language, everyone could see she was nervous because of the quiver in her voice. After seeing the uncut video, fans would repeat the film over and over again, analyzing each blink, clenched jaw, and little facial expression. When the rest of the group recovered their voices, their reactions only served to heighten the intensity of the moment. At first, Chantel, who has always been Evelyn's best friend, attempted to defend her by stating that this could not possibly be real. "We tell each other everything." "Right, Eve," Chantel remarked, her voice cracking slightly. "She would have told me. That silence. however, spoke for itself because Evelyn was unable to meet her eyes. Jackie, however, seemed almost satisfied. Her friendship with Evelyn had been strained for months, and now she was finally able to witness her rival's downfall. "I mean," Jackie muttered under her breath, but loud enough for the cameras to catch, "karma doesn't play favorites." The shockwave didn't stop with the cast. Within hours, clips from the confrontation began to leak online, and fan pages were ablaze with theories. Some supporters praised Ty for exposing what they described as a manipulative power play, while others hurried to defend Evelyn, saying her private life was her own business. Hashtags began to trend, think pieces were written, and suddenly the show wasn't just a reality series. It was the week's headline. Production was in full panic mode behind the scenes, with the producer at the center of the storm reportedly going dark and not returning calls or texts as the network frantically tried to figure out how to manage the narrative. Some insiders said that footage of Evelyn and the producer having a heated but private conversation in a parking lot would be released soon, while others insisted the network would bury it to avoid legal issues as the day grew dark. At the same time, Ty, ever the strategist, made sure her side of the story was told loud and clear. In a cryptic live session later that evening, she didn't mention names, but her pointed comments left no room for doubt who she was talking about. "People love to pretend," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. The energy on set was electric but tense. Everyone wanted answers, but Evelyn kept her distance, withdrawing to her dressing room and refusing to interact with anyone, including Chantal. However, receipts don't lie, so I hope they're prepared for the consequences when the truth is out. The situation worsened to an unimaginable degree by the next morning. There were paparazzi encamped outside Evelyn's home. In search of hints, fans were analyzing every old photograph and interview. And as interest soared, the network's ratings had subtly started to rise. What started off as simply another day on the set had evolved into a plot that made it difficult to distinguish between scandal and entertainment. Furthermore, it was impossible to put the genie back in the bottle. The set was a camouflaged battleground the next morning. The tension in the production area was evident and permeated the atmosphere like the dampness before a storm. Crew workers avoided making eye contact with the actors and instead murmured behind clipboards. The cameras were set up to capture every moment of emotion, but Ty was the first to come. She walked confidently across the floor wearing a crisp white suit and large sunglasses. Her sneer spoke for her without a single word. She was aware of her newfound strength. Evelyn arrived later wearing dark sunglasses and a big sweatshirt to protect herself. A mask of defiance set over her face. However, the fatigue and the weight of the headlines that had blossomed overnight were visible even behind the armor. Social media was awash with posts about the possibility of Team Ty and leaving Evelyn alone. The producers were drooling over the free exposure and splitting the supporters into factions. However, this was war to the women at its core. Jackie wasted no time in stirring up controversy. Evelyn laughed mockingly as soon as she entered. "Oh, the soon-to-be bride finally shows up to bless us with her presence." She spoke loudly enough for every word to be captured on camera. Waiting for a response, the team froze. Evelyn stopped, her jaw tensing, but she ignored the remark and continued to move. However, that quiet was more powerful than any retort. Ever the diplomat, Brandy attempted to defuse the situation. "We don't even know whether any of this is genuine, you see. Rumor spreads when people converse. Perhaps we need to let her explain." Evelyn's expression became white. The group's ever-calm queen briefly seemed to have been thrown off her throne. However, in typical Evelyn flair, she raised her chin, straightened her back, and stated icily, "Dinner doesn't mean engagement." "Try again," was stable, yet she was deceived by her sight. It was seen by the actors. When the show aired, viewers would examine each frame of the footage captured by the cameras. Ty wasn't finished, however. "Oh, sweetie," she replied in a tone that was brimming with phony pity. "Receiving the ring is more than simply supper. Guess whose name is on the order for these 6 custom-designed figurines?" She allowed the stillness to become intolerable as she let the words linger in the air. As the group took a collective breath, they waited for Evelyn to lose it, but she left. Every stride she took echoed like a defiant drumbeat, her shoes tapping on the smooth floor. But the discourse didn't stop with the walk-off. It sparked it, if anything. Chantal confronted Ty behind the scenes and demanded to know why she was so determined to ruin Evelyn. Chantal's eyes flashed as she screamed, "You've made your point." "But this is cruel," Ty said without hesitation, shrugging. "While you're doing backroom transactions that have an impact on all of us, cruel is lying to everyone's face and acting innocent. Jackie, seeing an opportunity, started sowing doubts, whispering in corners that Evelyn's secrecy had always been a problem. "This isn't new," she told anyone who would listen. "She's always thought she was above the rest of us." Where Evelyn had once been the undisputed queen bee, now cracks were showing in her armor, and her allies were questioning their loyalty, unsure whether to defend her or distance themselves from the chaos. She was just captured now. The fan responses followed. Inside Evelyn's camp, the pressure was growing as her phone buzzed nonstop with calls from friends, family, and even network executives pleading for a statement. However, she remained silent, refusing to feed the social media frenzy. Team Ty supporters bombarded timelines with memes and videos praising her for keeping it real, while Protect posts painted her as a victim of jealousy and manufactured drama. Podcasts and entertainment blogs dissected every detail, with some even claiming to have inside sources confirming that the engagement was real and had been planned for months. The producers, ever the opportunists, leaned into the chaos, rearranging shooting schedules, positioning cameras to catch every sideways glance, every whispered conversation, every tearful confession. And as the days went by, the tension didn't ease. It escalated because with every rumor, every leaked screenshot, and every whispered accusation, one thing became crystal clear. But that silence only served to fuel the speculation, and by the third day, even the cast members who had been neutral were beginning to wonder if perhaps, just possibly, Ty had been telling the truth all along. Power, treachery, and the disintegration of relationships that had been built over years were all part of this talk. In one especially violent moment, Emma approached Evelyn in the makeup room and said, "Why didn't you simply tell us?" "Eve, we're meant to be family," she said, her voice cracking. "You might have relied on us." "Because it wasn't what you think," Evelyn said in a whisper, clearly scared. It's not simple. The cast was no longer just shocked. They were split, separated by alliances, suspicions, and wounds that wouldn't go away. And at the heart of it all was a secret that refused to stay buried, threatening to destroy everything they thought they knew about each other. But before she could elaborate, Ty walked in, her presence like a storm cloud. And Evelyn shut down again, her walls snapping back into place as the cameras captured it all. The energy on set had changed into something darker, something heavier. "Even the crew, who are typically immune to the truth, has a funny way of coming out," she would mutter, sipping her coffee while pretending not to notice Evelyn glaring at her from across the room. Behind the scenes, the rumors had begun to spread beyond the cast, and producers were taking calls from network executives demanding answers, while gossip blogs published exclusive insider scoops that only deepened the mystery. Oh no. Every conversation felt loaded, every silence deafening. Of course, Ty was thriving in the chaos, strutting through scenes with the smug assurance of someone who knew she'd turn the tide, dropping cryptic remarks that kept everyone on edge. None of the theories were verified, but fans were still speculating that Ty had planned the whole thing to ruin Evelyn's reputation, that she was a hero for revealing the truth, that she had accepted the proposal weeks ago, that the engagement was a business deal to gain more control over the franchise, and that the pressure was overwhelming. Even in her own home, she couldn't escape the noise, with her phone acting as a source of anxiety with every ping, headline, betrayal, and friend inquiring about the veracity of the rumors. Her sister called with a worried tone, saying, "Eve, just tell me, is it true? Are you really engaged?" But Evelyn, who was still proud despite the humiliation, said, "People believe what they want to believe," and hung up. Brandy, who was torn between her friendship with Ty and her loyalty to Evelyn, tried desperately to make peace by setting up a quiet dinner and inviting both women with the promise of neutral ground. But the evening quickly descended into chaos. Ty, who never holds back, began with a smirk. The table fell silent as the weight of her words hung between them like smoke. And then suddenly Ty took out her phone once more. "Oh, but it is about me," she said, sliding her phone across the table, "because you lied to me, to all of us." Evelyn, already exhausted, shot back better. "Tea, please. You wouldn't understand. This isn't about you. No matter how much you want it to be, and now everyone is aware." There was no mistaking the image on the screen. Evelyn at a jewelry store trying on rings with a producer by her side. The employee who took the photo had sold it to a gossip blog, and now it was all over the place. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. She got up so fast that her chair fell over, and her voice was sharp but tremulous. "You think you know everything, Ty?" The fallout was immediate back on set, and Jackie, who was always willing to fan the flames, wasted no time in turning the situation into her own storyline. "I've been telling y'all for years," she said during her confessional, her tone brimming with self-righteousness. "Evelyn's got secrets, and when you build a house of lies, eventually it crumbles. That's just how karma works." The editors devoured her comments, looping her remarks over slow-motion shots of Evelyn storming out of scenes and Ty grinning as if she'd won a battle. But not everyone was rejoicing in the triumph. During a pause in shooting, Chantel, clearly uneasy with the extent of the situation, approached her, saying in a quiet but forceful voice, "Ty, this isn't a game. You've humiliated her. Now what's the point? Whatever you were attempting to prove, you succeeded." "Isn't that sufficient?" Ty remained still, cocked her head and said, "It's sufficient when she possesses capable of it. She doesn't get to play the victim till then." Evelyn became more reclusive over time, avoiding calls from her co-stars and missing group activities. She was chilly and calculating when she did appear to film. Everyone felt concerned because of the cold distance that had taken the place of the warmth and charm for which she was renowned. Even the producers acknowledged the change in confessionals. One acknowledged that she has always been protective, but now it seems as if she is erecting a wall that not even we can pass. Meanwhile, the fan base was in disarray. Changed every day, with Botcher Truth Hurts trending one day and Dalfer Team Evelyn the next. Podcasts conjectured endlessly, with some analyzing body language in videos to find hints, and others speaking with alleged insiders who said the interaction was more nuanced than anybody had thought. One especially bizarre idea, which neither Evelyn nor the network tried to refute, claimed that she was not only engaged to the producer, but had also been guaranteed a share in the show's future. Alliances among the cast were changing quickly. Brandy started separating from both ladies and concentrating on her own interests because she was sick of mediating. Emma, who had previously admired Evelyn, began to show interest in Ty after seeing she is the only one who is prepared to be honest. Seizing the chance, Jackie discreetly heightened tensions off-screen while positioning herself as the group's voice of reason, at least on television. In interviews, she would declare, "I just want the truth to come out," all the time supplying rumors to the blogs in order to sustain the narrative. The tipping point occurred at a charity function, one of those high-profile events when every action was recorded and closely watched. Evelyn entered with her head held high, ready to take back some control of the story. She looked stunning in a sleek black gown. Naturally, Ty was the first to approach Ty, her heels clicking, stark contrast to the marble floor. "How's the happy couple?" she said sharply, and Evelyn didn't bat an eye. "You really think you've won, don't you?" she said calmly, meeting Ty's eyes instead. "Sweetheart, I'm just getting started." Ty grinned, and the room suddenly exploded in turmoil. Like a wildfire, whispers spread. Phones were used to record, and by the following morning, the video was playing repeatedly on all of the nation's entertainment websites. However, what anyone anticipated was what took place when the camera ceased to roll. Evelyn sobbed away from the hungry gaze and flashing lights. She revealed to a close friend for the first time that the engagement was real, but not at all like the fairy tale everyone had thought it would be. "It's complicated," she continued, her flawlessly applied makeup smeared with tears. I don't know how to change it, but I didn't want it to go this way." And Evelyn found herself on a cliff, caught between speaking her truth and defending her dignity while the world kept speculating. Her castmates took sides and the public gorged themselves on every bit of drama, because she had a deep-seated, unwavering knowledge of one thing. Regardless of what happened afterward, it would never be the same again. It was nothing less than a media circus in the days that followed. In an attempt to get a sight of Evelyn or the producer, paparazzi set up camp outside her house. Every action, delivery, and vehicle that entered her driveway turned into newsworthy events. Every hour, blogs were being updated with increasingly dramatic stories. One said, "There's a secret wedding in the works," while another confidently said, "Ty exposes Evelyn's power play." The commotion was unrelenting, and it seemed like the walls were closing in on Evelyn. Tension was brewing in the production offices. Arguments over damage control dominated meetings that ought to have been about scheduling and artistic direction. A few manufacturers, some contended that the controversy was beneficial for the franchise's ratings, while others were concerned that it had gone too far and would have negative consequences. Even while they deliberated, the cameras continued to film because turmoil isn't a liability in reality TV, it's currency. One executive was heard stating, "We wanted drama, not a meltdown." This is a disaster waiting to happen. The actors on the set moved like chess pieces, planning each gesture and phrase. Jackie was taking full advantage of the circumstance, making confession after confession while including cryptic remarks meant to keep her in the news. Do you believe you know someone? After she pondered for a while, a hidden fiancé suddenly appeared. All I'm saying is that people need to start being honest. Fans were enraged by her sly smile, with many believing she had more secrets to reveal. However, as the conflict got out of hand, Brandy had become more reserved and withdrawn from the limelight. "I don't even recognize this group anymore," she said candidly in a private moment with a producer. "It used to be about fun, about sisterhood. Now it's just lies, betrayal, and cameras waiting to catch every tear, reach the air. Too real for the story the network was constructing." Encouraged by the internet support she was receiving, Ty stepped up her efforts. She began giving more clues, never explicitly confirming anything but only revealing enough to fuel conjecture. She said, "Some people want to hide behind their perfect image, but the truth doesn't care about your image. It comes out one way or another, in one explosive moment on camera." The video went viral in a matter of hours, solidifying Ty's dual roles as the antagonist and the protagonist in the developing story. Evelyn's breaking point occurred during a planned group photo shoot that was supposed to create a sense of unity. She arrived late, her face expressionless, and she was dressed entirely in white armor. The other women were already there, and the tension was evident as she entered the room, her heels resonating against the floor and her eyes scanning the space. Ty, who never backs down, was the first to speak, and she said, "Oh, look," with a drawl. The bride-to-be had arrived. "You think you've won, Ty? But all you've done is show everyone exactly who you are. Desperate, petty, and miserable." The room fell silent for a heartbeat before chaos broke out, with voices rising, accusations flying, and producers frantically trying to prevent the scene from turning into a physical altercation. However, what the cameras missed was what happened after Evelyn stormed out. This was the epitome of reality TV gold. Finally allowing the weight of everything to overwhelm her, she broke down in her vehicle and phoned her mother, whispering to her, "I don't know how to do this anymore," her voice trembling. "I have no idea how to stop it." While fans were analyzing every frame, leaked clip, and social media post for hints, some were certain the engagement was merely a network publicity stunt, while others vowed they had witnessed real chemistry between Evelyn and the producer in months' worth of behind-the-scenes footage. However, even in that vulnerable moment, she knew there was no turning back. The story had taken on a life of its own, and all she could do now was survive it. A former crew member speaking anonymously to a gossip website claimed that the engagement wasn't just real, but had been planned for months. According to the source, they thought they could keep it under wraps until the finale, but Ty got wind of it and blew everything up. The revelation sent shockwaves through the fandom, fueling even more speculation about who knew what and when. Conspiracy theories flourished, turning the situation into a pop culture phenomenon. Evelyn was under so much pressure that even her closest friends began to distance themselves from her out of fear of being caught in the crossfire. Publicists, attorneys, and network representatives kept calling her, urging her to make a statement to stop the story from getting worse. But Evelyn, ever the obstinate one, refused, saying, "Why should I explain myself to people who don't even know me?" During one very heated discussion, she said, "They're going to believe whatever they want anyway. You wanted the truth out. Fine, but look around you, Ty. Look at what you've done. Is this what you wanted? Because none of this feels like a win." Chantel, who had been mostly quiet up until that point, finally confronted Ty during a group dinner as the filming progressed. Alliances broke down, new ones formed, and the atmosphere became almost toxic. Ty's response was icy, almost detached. "I just wanted her to stop acting like she was better than everyone else," she said quietly. "And I didn't think it would blow up like this." The producer, seeing a chance for a redemption arc, encouraged her to share those thoughts on camera, but Ty flatly replied, "I'm not giving them that." And the network, ever calculating, started to tease an explosive truth. Truth hurts. Perhaps it's time everyone got used to that. But beneath her bravado, even Ty was beginning to feel the strain. Promos included footage of Evelyn wiping away tears, Ty pacing furiously, and Jackie exclaiming, "This changes everything." The reveal episode promised viewers answers to all their pressing issues. The hype was electric, and by the time the episode aired, ratings had skyrocketed to record-breaking numbers. But the reality behind the scenes was far less glamorous. Evelyn, exhausted and isolated, began seriously considering walking away from the show entirely. In a late-night call with a close confidant, she confessed, "I don't even care about the money anymore. All I want is my life to return. I wish I could go outdoors without feeling like everyone is watching me." She was afraid to leave. But as the dust settled, at least temporarily, it became painfully obvious that nothing about this situation was straightforward. Friendships had been shattered, trust had been broken, and a once Dikiki group had been split into factions. Although everyone tried to act as though things were gradually getting back to normal, they all knew deep down that the damage had already been done, and that no amount of planned reconciliation could undo it. And as the season finale filming approached, there was a question that everyone was thinking, but no one dared to ask aloud. Was this the moment that would finally break Evelyn? Or was this the scandal that would force her to take back her story and return stronger than before? One thing was for sure, though. The world was watching and wasn't prepared to turn away. This has been quite the roller coaster, and to be honest, it feels like we've only just begun to explore this storm. With every new clip and cryptic post, the questions keep coming in. Is this a genuine love story caught in the wrong spotlight, or a calculated move to control the narrative? Will the cast ever be able to rebuild trust after this level of betrayal? Or is this the scandal that changes the show forever? We want to hear from you. Evelyn's silence ties unapologetic attitude. The producer's refusal to make a public statement, simply bringing to light a truth that needed to be revealed? And what about Evelyn? Is she the target of a smear campaign, or is this engagement more complicated than it seems? Please share your thoughts in the comments section, as this discussion is far from over, and your views may be included in our next breakdown. If you've been as captivated by this drama as we have, please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and to ensure you don't miss any updates, enable alerts. Have faith in us, given the way things are coming apart. You'll want to be the first to know, since the next twist might come at any moment. Keep checking back, because the drama in this world never stops, and neither does.